Hi, I'm Arianna Lasha, and this is Welcome Home Doggy, a show where we talk about creating better quality of life for all dogs. Today, I'll be speaking with Laraine Wilkinson, owner and founder of Two Chicks in a Pack. So stay tuned and stay with us. Hi, Laraine. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We're really excited.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I'm excited to be here.
And I know that you're my guest, but you brought some guests of your own. So do you want to introduce them? I'm sure we'll see them pop up every now and then in our interview.
Sure. So the tan one over here is Chico. And I don't know if you see Lucy behind the camera.
She'll come through sooner or later.
She'll come through. Exactly.
Yeah.
So these are my two dogs. They are White Shepherd Lab mixes. They're 8 years old. I've had them since they were about 2.5 months old. They are twins, so they tend to move around freely and usually after each other. So
go ahead and tell us about Two Chicks in a Pack.
So I started the company in fall of 2017. We are a dog hiking company. And what that means is we actually transport dogs from apartments, condos, homes within the city and outside of the city. And we take them to national parks, state parks, and local community parks throughout Atlanta. We usually try to stay within about a 50 mile radius within the city. So our pickups can be confined to less than, an hour and a half. So the dogs are outside as much as possible and not in the car as much as possible. So we usually have about 6 or 7 dogs out with us at a time. There's always 2 handlers, hence Two Chicks in a Pack.
Okay, so that explains the name.
Yeah. So from a safety standpoint, it's just safer to hike with someone, especially when you've got a larger pack out. We do about probably 6 to 7 dogs max. So never more than about 3 dogs per handler. And that also depends on the size of the dog, the breed. We tend to hike a lot of larger dogs. So, if we do have a lot of larger dogs out with us, we'll probably, hike a smaller pack. So whatever's safest and the most fun for us and for the dogs.
Of course. So tell me about the other chicks. How did they help you start the business, or did you found it on your own?
Found it on my own. But I have 2 women that are working with me now, Paige and Casey. Paige has been hiking with me for almost since its inception. So for about 2.5 years now. She speaks dog. She's just great with dogs. And she, both of my handlers also pick up and drop off. And our cars are equipped with, safety harnesses. We require, the dogs to be clipped in when we're transporting. And we're licensed, bonded, and insured too. So safety is a huge priority for us. But we're also pet tech certified. Mm-hmm. All 3 of us are. So we go and practice, pet first aid and CPR. Every couple of years we get our certification. So, and Casey is, she's newer. She's been hiking with me for about 6 months. She is a social media queen. She is amazing photographer. The dogs just seem to pose for her. If you have visited our Instagram or our Facebook page or even our website.
Oh, no, I've seen it. It's popping.
Yeah. She's fantastic. So, and she's really great with dogs too. It's just a really fun business that I started and we just have a great time. And I'm a hiker. I've always been a hiker. So when I started it in 2017, I was living in Inman Park and I just noticed, all of these dogs were, being walked around. They'd go to the dog park, but, it'd be maybe a half hour, an hour. And it just seemed like they needed a lot more than that. And a lot of the friends that I had in the complex I was living in at the time, kept seeing me take Chico and Lucy on hikes during the day. And so they were like, can you bring our dog? And that is pretty much where the idea started.
So in 2017, that's when you recognized that there was a need for this service in Atlanta?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else has gone into that development process? How did you plan, like, okay, I want to do dog walking versus running or dog sitting? How did you?
Well, I don't run, first of all. No, I mean, hiking has just always been a passion of mine. Mm-hmm. And I've pretty much hiked almost every state park in Georgia. And I just love, what our state has to offer in terms of national parks, what the National Park Service is doing, the State Park Service is doing. There's a lot of really cool apps out there, like, All Trails that I go to all the time in terms of finding, new trails or, making sure that the trails that we go to are accessible that day, depending on the weather or, things that are happening, in the environment and stuff. Also always looking at the U.S. Geological Survey and the National Park Service has an email that goes out that shows bacterial levels in the water. So I'm constantly monitoring where we can go in terms of, hiking spots that are safe for dogs. Because sometimes, especially in the summer, there are some lakes that we just can't go to. We can't bring the dogs to. So
we're kind of got that down to a science.
Constantly monitoring. Yeah.
Yeah. So many dogs, so many different trails. Every day sounds fun. It sounds like an adventure. Walk me through what the day-to-day for that looks like.
Sure. So I usually schedule in the beginning of the week. So on Sundays, depending on who wants to come out with us that week, it's very much a logistics business. So I have dogs that, we're picking up from Smyrna to West Side to Stone Mountain, and a lot of dogs in the city, of course. So it's really, my main goal is to make sure that wherever we're going, the dogs are in the car for as short a period of time as possible. So whether it's me and Paige only going out, or Casey and I, or the three of us are going out, which actually happens a lot these days, because it's more fun to just hike with more people. So we, I'll schedule the dogs based on location and, from the location that we're picking up from, what's the closest site that we can go to. And I have a spreadsheet of about, yes, I said spreadsheet. I love spreadsheets. I have a spreadsheet of about 50 different parks that we go to. So I just, find the best park suitable for that day. And it does depend on weather conditions. We don't go out if it's lightning, obviously, or if it's freezing cold and raining, but we'll go out in the rain, and if it's warm enough, and the dogs love it, and we don't mind the rain.
They're just trying to have a good time.
Yeah, exactly. They're as bummed as we are if I have to cancel.
So if a dog is interested in joining the pack to go on a hike, what are the requirements that you have of those dogs and those owners?
Yeah. So we do require that the dogs are either spayed or neutered. We also require that they are not aggressive and they don't have aggressive tendencies. I do a meet and greet and meet all of the dogs before they come out with us. We usually go for a walk. Just kind of do basic temperament tests, things like that. Get to know the owners, get to make sure that the dogs are comfortable with me coming in the home. I'll always be the one that picks up the first couple times until the dog is, comfortable with me, comfortable with the transport. It's a lot for an animal to come out for the first time without their owner. So we try to make it as comfortable as possible for them. But I have enrollment documents, so they all have to be signed. And then I require all of the vaccinations be up to date, obviously. And I store all those in a Google Drive, so it's easily accessible. I always have, access to their vet, any emergency, vets that they prefer to go to. So we constantly keep up with, the information that's specific to that dog, which is also why I customize it and try to keep it, quality over quantity, like a smaller pack, so we're always making sure that when they come out with us, we're using the commands that the owner has used with that dog to train that dog. And we're, making sure that if there's any dietary things, if we're giving treats, we keep that in mind whenever we go out. So.
Yeah, you mentioned the socialization aspect, and that's something that's really important to consider because dogs get anxiety just like people, or, they're afraid to try new things. So what is the socialization process like for you introducing a new dog into the pack?
Yeah, so this has been, dogs like humans are very different. So we, over the years of doing this, we basically have, come to realize that dogs like to get to know other dogs at their own pace. Mm-hmm. So I never force any dog to meet, another one of their hiking buddies until they actually are comfortable with it. Like I said, I will always be picking up the first timers. So when we get to a park, I usually always keep the first timers to a smaller pack too. That way, if something happens with that dog where they're just, they have a lot of anxiety and they're just not interested or kind of grooving with the other dogs, then, I can take that dog while my other handler, can take the other mm-hmm. 2 or 3, for their hike. So, but most of the time, we will gear them up, we'll gear ourselves up. I always have a pack with first aid kits and everything with us and water, plenty of water. So we gear up and get ready to go. And then I'll make sure that the handlers start walking first, and then I'll take the new dog and kind of socialize them as we're walking. Because dogs really just, they want to go. They want to get from point A to point B. They mm-hmm. want to hike and see the smells and see the deer. And I mean, we see a lot of animals when we're out there, squirrels and, just a lot of different animals. Sorry, my dog is passed out. But usually when I say squirrel, he wakes up. But so we socialize, at their own pace, really. Mm-hmm. And like I said, we don't take aggressive dogs out. So, there's never been an issue with, a dog kind of getting into it with another dog. So.
And like you said, you're able to customize those experiences for the different animals. So say I've got like my little 5-pound Yorkie who's probably like smaller than the tail of Chico,
Yeah.
How do you customize that experience for the smaller dogs if they want to go on walks as well?
Well, so it depends. There's a lot of different parks, and we're very fortunate here in the city and outside of the city to have a lot of different types of parks that we can go to. So, if we've got a smaller dog, we won't do the more aggressive, like hike right. up Kennesaw Mountain or something like that, or Red Top, or, we'll probably keep it to a more even keel walk. We do go out for an hour and a half to 2 hours. Depending on the day, most of the time it's 2 hours. So, we always take that into consideration, breed, size, the weather, if it's hot out in the middle of summer, it gets really crazy muggy here and mm-hmm. hot. So our summer hikes usually start a lot earlier, and we're home. We try to shoot to be back home with the animals by 12:31. So we're not hiking during, the heat of the day. And then, we also customize out in the winter time too. We'll go out later on, to where we're hiking in the, the warmest part of the day. Mm-hmm. So we just really, it's all about the dogs. We're just making sure that it's comfortable and they're having the best time that they can have when we're out there. So.
Right. And so you told me about your first aid kit. You told me about your spreadsheets. So what other precautions do you take before you take the dogs out on a walk, just to make sure everything's going to go as smoothly as possible?
Yeah, we always have water. We always have, a backpack full of stuff. Carabiners have been my best friend. I have, tons of carabiners because if we need to clip them, quickly, we can. Mm-hmm. We usually, during transport, we always have harnesses on them. We usually have treats. A lot of times, we're out in parks where we do see dogs that are off leash. And that is, a concern. So most of the time we will, call out and communicate with the owner of the dog that's on leash. And, this business is all about looking ahead also. Mm-hmm. So whoever's in the lead with the pack, they know if it's myself or if it's Casey or if it's Paige, they know that they're looking down the trail to make sure that there's no oncoming hikers with dogs, dogs that are not on leash. And then they communicate that back to Paige or myself, or, if it's just the two of us hiking, we go back and forth like that. And then the same thing with the person that's hiking in the back. Sometimes we have runners that, run up to us, and that can startle a dog. So we are always looking ahead of us and behind us, when we're out there, just to make sure that, the dogs are comfortable and, there's no surprises, because they don't respond well to that. So, but yeah, most of the time it's just, fun, and we're just out there having a blast.
Yeah.
So enjoying nature.
Well, you're experienced, you're professional. This is your, job. So you've been to all of the trails and hikes, places all around Georgia and Atlanta. But what advice do you have to people that want to find new spots that are dog friendly?
Definitely, do your research with the state parks and the national parks, especially now, during COVID. There are so many people that are visiting and frequenting these parks. So it's really important to make sure that, whatever you take in, you take out. If your dogs are, pooping on the trail, you take it out. There's a lot of great tools out there now to help you with that. So, just kind of be aware of your situation. Like I was saying earlier, we have, it's actually across the country, but this past summer was pretty bad. And I would imagine going into spring and summer, we're going to see it again. But blue algae is a thing in most lakes that have stagnant water, that are not running water. And it's very toxic to dogs. It's toxic to humans, but it's even more toxic to dogs. So unfortunately, there's been a lot of cases last summer where some dogs have, unfortunately passed, because they swam in the lake. And then, it kind of got to them. So we are constantly watching, like I said, the Chattahoochee River and just different areas. So just do your due diligence and just make sure wherever you're going, there's no notifications or warnings about the water, or even, the trails may be eroded or something like that. So, it's as much our part to make sure that we're maintaining the environment as, it is taking care of the dogs. So,
right. And speaking of terrible things that have happened last summer, how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected your business?
Yeah, a lot, I guess. There's I think it's great. It's twofold, it's great because the owners are home and they're able to spend more time with the dogs. So, my business isn't as necessary because they're getting out there themselves, Unfortunately, some people have also lost their jobs and just can't afford it. Right. I offer a premium service, so I totally understand that. But they're now, so we did lose some clients because of that. And also I shut down in March as soon as I have a lot of friends in the film industry, and that was one of the first industries that shut down. And as soon as I started hearing and seeing, the shutdown of that industry and several others, the restaurant and things like that, I decided to shut down, and I stayed closed until about late June is when I started up again, because we had no idea at the time if dogs were affected, if they were going to be able to transmit or, back and forth. So I just wanted to make sure that we were, as safe as possible. And we do have COVID practices in place now. We always wear masks and gloves when we're out, picking up and transporting the dogs. We've just started going into the homes because people have started to go back to work. So they're not there during the day. That was very common for us before COVID. But as, COVID came into effect, everybody was home. So we would do contactless pickup. So, but yeah, we're really safe. I have doggy sanitizers for like all the tools and equipment. So when we do go in, we sanitize everything. So now we're getting more and more clients because people are going back to work, but we're still, ensuring that, we have a mask and gloves and practicing proper protocol, basically. So,
Great.
Yep.
And so, like you said, you're getting more and more clients. People are going to see this and want to become a client. So how should they get in touch with you?
Well, we have 5-star reviews on Yelp, Nextdoor, Google. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and then we do have a website, and it's all spelled out, twochicksinapack.com. So and there's tons of photos. I think our Instagram or Facebook is the best because it's how can you not love seeing photos of dogs? So
speaking of seeing dogs, Chico and Lucy, they were running around here. Now they're passed out, but maybe they'll come now. But
Chico, come here.
There they go. But before we end, just like tell me one thing that dogs have taught you in your life. Why are dogs such an important part of your life?
So I've always been a relatively positive person. I think dogs, and hiking with all these different dogs have taught me gratitude first. Just wake up and, especially during these crazy times, waking up and just, being appreciative of your health, of your family, of your friends. I think with what COVID has taught us is to slow down, enjoy nature, get outside, be as healthy and as happy as you can. Physical health and mental happiness is super important. So that's why I love doing what we're doing because, it is it's healthy for the dogs, both mentally, because of the socialization that they get with the other dogs. I mean, some of our dogs know when we're turning the corner to a neighborhood that we're picking up one of their best friends. Like just seeing their face light up when they see their buddies, when we get to a hiking spot it just makes you appreciate life. It's so great. And then I guess the other thing most recently is I had one of our newcomers. She was very shy. And she refused to walk, actually, which kind of is an issue because that's what we do. But I ended up just working with her for the 2 hours. I mean, pretty much just right in front of my truck. And we just practiced walking back and forth until she got, comfortable with me, and comfortable jumping in and out of the truck too, And the next time I picked her up for a hike, she jumped right out and started hiking with us. And so if that teaches you anything, it's every dog can change. They can change their manner. They just need they need to be comfortable enough and confident enough, to do that. And so that's what we, try to do for all of our dogs is give them that confidence and that, comfortableness that they can go out there and, meet new friends and hang out and be outside. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Laraine. Thank you for being here today, bringing Lucy and Chico. We've had a great interview.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yep. Okay. For more information, visit our website. Remember to subscribe on YouTube, like us on Instagram, and follow us on Facebook. I'm Arianna Lasha, and this is Welcome Home Doggy. Me and the pups.